My name is Abby, for those of you who don't know me, and I am a mum. I just recently became a mum a couple of years ago, and I've learnt so many things. I love reading, I love sharing, and that's why I'm doing this video, so that I can share my tips. So, sleep is the first one. For you is the most important thing when you're first dealing with a newborn. Sleep when they sleep. Go to sleep. Put on the fan, have a shower, put on some lavender, whatever you need to do. Make sure you've eaten breakfast or whatever you need to do. Just make sure that you go down for that nap. When I was with my first son, I was feeling amazing during the day. I was like, everything was back to normal, and I was like, oh, I feel amazing. I'm going to do the laundry. What are those other mums talking about? But then 5 o'clock would roll around, and I would just crash and burn, and I'd be in tears, and I'd be crying about the stupidest things. And I wished I had gone for a nap, but at the time I didn't feel like it during the day. So, and especially during at night, I was so tired, and then obviously inevitably my son would wake up ready for a feed, and I was just so tired. And I look back and I think I should have napped, but I didn't. With my second son, I did, and it has been just a world of difference. I made sure that I at least had one nap a day when my oldest son went down, and during one of the naps for my second son, who's just been born, I made sure that I napped a good hour if I could. And that brings me to my next tip, which is swaddling. I really recommend swaddling. Some babies don't like it, and that's okay. My babies have all loved to be swaddled. So I really recommend those zip-up swaddle bags, sleeping bags. They zip up and they're tight, and their hands can still self-soothe them, but and they can't get out of them. My oldest son, he would just Houdini out of them, and I don't know how, but he did. And so with my second son, I made sure to get some of those zip-up ones, and it was an investment, and I don't look back. Yeah, organic is my third tip. And this one's kind of an important one. The other ones, yeah, they're important too, but I think organic is really important because pesticides are dangerous chemicals sprayed on clothing, or at least sprayed on the product, so cotton or even bamboo sometimes, to kill bugs, to stop bugs from eating the product. And if a poison can kill a bug, it can do a little bit of damage to a newborn, to a full-grown person. There's some pretty nasty chemicals in pesticides, and not only that, especially in your mattress. If you can't afford organic clothing, don't worry about it. Just buy second-hand clothing, because that way they've been washed a bunch of times and it's not as bad. But especially a new mattress, try to go organic as much as possible. Second-hand organic is even better. But I'll tell you why. In the 70s, people were smoking a lot. And so they would fall asleep with their cigarette and let it fall on the carpet. And carpet was a huge thing in the 70s. And so the CDC started to mandate that all the commercial businesses had to spray their mattresses and couches and carpets and rugs and chairs, chairs, to spray them with formaldehyde or flame retardant. Formaldehyde's the main ingredient in flame retardant, and it's a really dangerous chemical. It's really bad for your lungs, really bad, and it can cause all sorts of long-term diseases. Not diseases, but long-term chronic illnesses, if you will. Long-term and chronic is the same thing. But anyway, they started to mandate that. And these poor little kids, these little babies, fresh out of the womb, were sleeping on their bellies, because it was the 70s to the 90s, sleeping on their bellies and breathing in all of these toxic chemicals all night long, and most of the day as well, because newborns sleep a lot. And so, yeah, that's why SIDS was such a huge issue in those times. And then they started to mandate not that formaldehyde be, or not that flame retardant be stopped, but that babies sleep on their backs. And the rates of SIDS went really low at that point. It just plummeted. All of a sudden, people didn't know, and they were like, oh, who knew? All of a sudden, babies sleeping on their backs have fixed SIDS. Also, the lessening of smoking, or at least people being more aware of how dangerous it is, started to really come through in the research. And yeah, so the secondhand smoke thing, and the sleeping babies on their backs have really helped SIDS. But I would just recommend go organic. I went secondhand Facebook Market. I think it was Gumtree actually, and it was $50 for an organic tea tree mattress with a bassinet. It was perfect. So go secondhand. My other tip: sometimes people will say, oh, it's so cruel to let your baby cry. Don't let your baby cry. It'll stunt their emotional growth and make them feel like you don't love them. It's actually not true, to an extent. Sometimes babies need to let out a little bit of frustration, vent a little bit. And typical babies, normal babies, will look around. If you put them down for a sleep and they're warm and they're fed and they've had a little bit of a play, and you know it's time for bed, so they don't actually need anything. They don't have a pooey nappy or anything like that. So you've checked all those things. It's time for bed. You put them down. They'll look around for 5 minutes, cry for 5 to 10 minutes, and then go to bed for 2 hours. Sleep for 2 hours. Newborns are so amazing in that way. They sleep so much. They're kind of easy in that regard. So I really recommend sleep training. I'm going to do a video on that next time. Sleep training is a lifesaver. It really, really helped me. Both my kids, both my sons, slept trained from the beginning and slept through at 2 months. Through the night, 8 hours, sometimes 10. I tried not to let them sleep through till 10, but you've got your night back. And at the very most, they'll cry when they go to bed for 2-3 days, at the very most a week. But I found that with both of my sons, that if nothing was wrong, there was no dirty nappy, I'd burped them, I'd fed them, I'd played with them. And when I say play, I mean only like 2 minutes to 10 minutes, not long, when they're really, really new, like weeks old. They don't need a lot of play, but they just need everything. They need everything that they need, nice and warm clothes. When they're ready for sleep, they will sleep if you've done things well. And in the first couple of days, maybe even the first week or two, they'll cry before they go to bed. But I just put my son down, my newborn, my 3-month-old, and he goes straight to sleep. No crying, no rocking, no feeding to sleep. I put him down awake and he goes to sleep by himself. It's amazing. And at night he sleeps all the way through the night. So I really recommend listening to my next video, which will probably be sleep training. Or at least I might be doing feeding next, actually, breastfeeding. Anyway, that's my last tip. Bonus tip: get a fan. They don't cost a lot of money to run, and they're really worth it. A little bit of white noise, even white noise on your phone. But I like a fan because it circulates the air, and I live in Queensland, so a little bit of fan air on a stuffy afternoon is perfect. So really helps me sleep. A little bit of white noise to muffle out the sniffles and because newborn babies actually they're not very quiet when they sleep. They could be totally asleep, but they make little noises, little burps and little hiccups and things like that. So a little bit of white noise. They don't need me in that time, but if I don't have white noise, it'll keep me awake. So anyway, that's it. Okay.